Hello, everybody. What's happening? I am the Sports Judge. Welcome to my channel. Man, it's been a wild day in the NFL. It's that time of year. Teams are making moves. Off-season changes. Same faces. Different places. Teams are getting what they need. Free agency signings. The big news today came out of New York. And man, I know New Yorkers are grieving the loss of Saquon Barkley, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear the breaking news today. That's a big story today. Saquon Barkley is leaving the New York Giants. But he's not leaving the NFC East. The Pro Bowl running back has agreed to terms with the Philadelphia Eagles on a 3-year deal worth up to $46.75 million, including $26 million guaranteed at signing, according to a league source. New Yorkers are hurting today. Those folks are gonna need grief counseling. I feel so bad for them. I know this feels like a stab to the heart. Sad day for New York. They just lost the face of their franchise. Arguably one of the best running backs in the league. He is gone. He is no longer there. Beloved New York athletes leaving for hated rivals. Saquon Barkley is leaving the Giants for Philly. It almost feels like Bernie Williams, the time when Bernie Williams left the Yankees for Boston after the 98 season. And I think this was his preferable destination. This is where he wanted to go. The Eagles have had their eye on him for some time now. I think they know that he can be that foundational piece if he can stay healthy. Because this is a team that is committed to running the football. Well, sometimes they didn't run the football like they should have last season. I felt like they got away from the run game. You know, and that's a huge part of what the Eagles do, right? It's their foundation is to run the football. And they didn't do enough of that last season. So now you get a guy like Saquon Barkley, man, and you get a guy who's a power back. You look at what he did last season. Barkley, still young, 27 years old, rushed for 926 yards and 6 touchdowns last season, along with 41 receptions for 280 yards and 4 more scores in 14 games. Barkley suffered a high ankle sprain early last season and wasn't able to match his bounce back 2022 campaign, where he rushed for 1,312 yards and 10 touchdowns. So injuries have derailed his career. You know, he has spent more time on the sideline than he has on the field, but when he's healthy, we know what he can do. Now, the Giants, man, it looked like it was heading, for the final days. His days were numbered in New York. You know, the Giants opted not to place the franchise tag on Barkley for the 2024 season. Barkley played under a 1-year contract last season after trying to fight for more money and a long-term deal with the Giants. It appeared both sides were headed for a standoff as training camp approached, but Barkley signed a 1-year deal worth up to $11 million and showed up to camp, opting not to sign the franchise tag. And now that day finally has come where he has said farewell to the New York Giants. Thank you, I love you, but I'm moving on. But of all teams, he chose to join the hated rival. He chose to take his talents to Philadelphia. And I think this is a great move if you're an Eagles fan. This you have to love if you're an Eagles fan. And I know his history. I know he's dealt with injuries. I know that's the big concern. But this is a landmark addition for the Eagles and general manager Howie Roseman. This is huge. The Eagles have ranked in the bottom 10 in positional spending on running backs in each of the last 4 seasons. But signing Barkley, I think, provides Coach Nick Sirianni and newly hired offensive coordinator Kellen Moore an all-around back as they seek to restructure a system that floundered last season, right? I mean, on both sides of the ball, the Eagles just looked out of rhythm, right? The Eagles were terrible last season. Obviously, they had chemistry issues, and something happened in that locker room because after the 49ers lost, the team just didn't look like themselves. They didn't look the same after that loss. The 49ers clearly broke them, and they never recovered after that. But I don't know what happened in that locker room. I don't know if there was an ongoing feud. I don't know if there was an act of betrayal. I don't know what happened in the locker room, but something had to happen for that team to fall apart the way it did and for that historic collapse at the end of the season. But now you got Barkley, one of the top running backs in this league. The question is, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, you have yourself a premier running back who can get it done for you. I like this move. I think this is a great move. I think he fits in well with the Eagles. You know, and we all know that the Eagles' run game has been kind of a staple in the past 3 years. And they've done it with different pieces. You know, we've seen it over the years. We've seen what they did. The Philadelphia Eagles had back-to-back Pro Bowl running backs in Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift, who required a moderate level of investment. You know, Sanders and Swift both totaled over 1,200 scrimmage yards and logged at least 6 total touchdowns. You know, so now you bring in Barkley. Barkley gives Sirianni and Moore an every down weapon to spark an offense that lacked consistent firepower and quick targets against the blitz. So I like this move. I think this is a great signing. You know, the Barkley signing obviously will be the most the Eagles have spent on a running back since DeMarco Murray signed a 5-year, $42 million contract in 2015. You know, so I like Roseman's decision making here. I like that he aggressively went after Barkley. You know, and like I said, I think they had been looking at Barkley for some time now. I think they knew they wanted to add him to this team. You know, this is the biggest move at running back since he signed LaShawn McCoy to a 5-year, $45 million extension in 2012. You know, and I really believe that Barkley can follow McCoy's path, you know, and I think Sirianni and Roseman believes that as well. And I think he fits in an offensive system currently being repaired because we all saw how big of a mess it was in Philly last year. You know, we all saw how big of a mess. Now, I'm still not sold on Kellen Moore, but we'll see how that go. We'll see how that go. But there's no question Barkley is one of the NFL's most dynamic running backs when he's on the field. I think the big question is, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, he can do some damage on the ground. We all know how explosive he is. He's a very explosive running back, right? He just missed significant time due to injury. Barkley has missed 8 regular season games since returning from his 2020 ACL tear. He missed 3 games last season with an ankle injury. You know, but the Eagles have still seen his explosiveness firsthand in last year's regular season finale when Barkley totaled 80 yards, 29 rushing, 51 receiving, and 2 touchdowns. You know, so we all know what the guy can do. And I think by adding him to the roster, clearly the Eagles needed to improve the potency and consistency of what was, at times, a dynamic offense in 2023. Then there's times that the offense just looked shaky, erratic. They came out stale at times. So I think Moore and Sirianni will certainly be pleased to have a guy like Barkley. And now you have an offense that features Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Barkley. So the Eagles, man, they entered the offseason with one of the most potent running back rooms in the NFL. You still have Kenneth Gainwell, who remains under contract, and the 2021 fifth-round pick should be a solid number 2 option after rushing for 354 yards and 2 touchdowns last season, plus 183 yards on 30 catches. So I think this really improves this offense by adding Barkley. And Barkley was a notable free agent that, a lot of people were interested in possibly acquiring. And a lot of people I know, a lot of teams nowadays, they don't like to really touch running backs like that because they feel that running backs are not a huge focal point of the offense. It's a devalued position. It's one of the most unappreciated positions in football. But I like this. I think the Eagles are big winners today by getting Saquon Barkley. I know the big concern is his health, but if he stays healthy, we all know how explosive he is. We all know how dangerous he is. And we all know how scary this Eagles offense can be. Hopefully, you get the version of the 2022 Eagles and not the 2023 Eagles. Hopefully, the Eagles can revert back to that and be that dynamic offense that we saw in 2022, led by Jalen Hurts and now with Saquon Barkley running the ball. Now, the important thing is how you use Saquon Barkley. Use him. Run the football. That is your foundation. Run the football. You have a power running back now. You have one of the more premier running backs in the league. Run the football. Don't get away from the run game. That was the problem last year with the Eagles. Run the football and don't expect or don't ask Jalen Hurts to throw the ball 40 times a game. Don't be one-dimensional when you have a star running back like Saquon Barkley. Now you can get really creative because you got a guy like Saquon Barkley. So this is an A+ for the Eagles. It's a day to celebrate in Philly. It's a day to mourn in New York. Thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate the love and support. We'll talk very soon. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Take care, everyone.